so much for speaking to me. This movie is beautiful, and what is done with the music is just even more beautiful. You add so much texture to it. So, what I wanted to know is when you get the script of the burial, how do you go about breaking down the script in order to find those musical cues?
Oh, well, first of all, thanks for saying that. I really appreciate it. Um, for this particular piece, I didn't work with the script as much as I might. I instead was looking at the cut of the film and just seeing the story has some complex details, first of all, but it's really all about the relationship between Willie and Jerry, Jamie Foxx's character and Willie's character. And if you're into and understand the trust they have for each other, then you're totally on board for this movie. So the music, I think, is meant to make us to help us take in all the information we have to understand the story, because there's a lot of that has to be explained. And so we spent a long time figuring out how to tell people the details of the story so that they wouldn't have to think about those, and
Mhm.
instead just like appreciate everything that Willie was up against.
Right.
So the music sort of does, at the beginning, it sort of spins out this tale to show the people there are a lot of steps to this, and each of these steps relates to the next step, and that helps you understand how we got to where we are. And then after that, it follows the heart of the movie through Willie's journey up until their incredible victory. So, at that point, it's just about highlighting and maybe amplifying the emotions that are already on the screen.
So when you're scoring this, do you view it as, each emotional beat, or is it always to keep in mind the overall theme of the movie?
Well, of course, it's both, but it's really
Mhm.
in the moment. It is the individual beat. A great story is made up of individual moments that all connect, and each of those has to land in the proper way. And so that's what the an individual musical cue will help do. Now, there's a few different themes, a few different pieces of music that happen more than once in the film, and that's not unusual, but it was a specific choice that we wanted this theme to recur. And one of them, you first hear it when Jerry is talking about his family and the different setup of the way his life works. There's another one when they're on the you first see it on the hear it on the boat as they're making the deal with Lowen. And you hear that same theme again when Willie is talking with Mame in the bar, and they meet in the bar and they have that little um gentle competitive joust, and they talk about Johnny Cochran. And you still hear the same theme as when Jerry was talking to Ray. And the reason is because even though those are very, very different scenes and characters, it's because it's about one more chapter in the story and how each of these chapters is going to relate in a way that we don't see right at the beginning. um so it was that sort of plan that, like, everybody will, when these pieces finally snap together, everybody will get it. That was kind of the overarching theme of how we were trying to make the score and the story weave together by the second or third act.
Right. So it also uses your score, but it also uses other music. Like, for example, Tony, Tony, Tony was huge
Yeah.
part of the script, the feel good moment.
Yeah.
How do you go about blending that so neither one kind of feels awkward?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, it's so that music, the period music, especially, first of all, it's on camera, so that part's in the script and planned from the beginning. But then it's got a lot of other great nine moments that are designed to, like, play right along with what you're feeling and what they're experiencing. And it was clear to me that all that was going to work big time, and all I have to do is stay out of the way of it and make sure that the score, which is, usually a score usually doesn't involve lyrics, and it doesn't involve a song that's been it's music that's custom written to help tell a story rather than something that was a hit or a song that you would stand alone. So I was just always conscious and working with the director and talking about where's a song placement versus where's score. And sometimes that's up. You try different things. So there were some places where we tried score and we ended up going with a song, and vice versa. And it's really about what's helping tell the story and capture the moment the best. And you try out things until you find the answer that seems to be working.
Is there a process to know when to put in music or just to let that scene be silent?
It's really it's very visceral, meaning it's very emotional of what works, and you have to. It's actually one of the most fun parts of the process is trying different things, and not there are lots of times there are moments in a film where you go, okay, that's I hear there's going to be really big music here, but at first when they first cut it, when sometimes when the music will be so important that an editor will edit to music so that there's music in that scene from the beginning, even though that music they're not going to use that music. It's just something to cut the scene to. But then at some point you do almost always play a scene just dry and listen to it and see whether the ambient sound or the diegetic sound of the environment tells the story. There's a lot of times when you hear the sound of the outdoors when a character is feeling introspective and things in that sound. For example, there's the slave burial ground in the burial, and there's a power in just hearing the sound of that space. And even though we did use music in those scenes, we didn't use it through all of the scenes. And part of the reason is so that the sound of just being in the stillness and knowing and being present to the ghosts is an important part of the storytelling. So it should never be a foregone conclusion that there's music in a scene. The music should prove that it's adding something to the storytelling.
When dealing with a movie like this that's set in a certain time period, do you find yourself having to listen to music that's already a part of that culture in order to inspire your original work?
Oh, that's helpful. I didn't because I think our 90s hits were so well represented, and because I remember the 90s. I don't feel like I didn't feel, oh, I need to go brush up on something, for this particular score. But that's always a good thing to do. And I will always listen and, to refresh my ears to feel like if I need to be better informed about something.
How long do you start on composing the music? Before you say you compose to what you see. So is it as they film? Is it after they film everything? How does that work?
So it's mostly after they film because music takes place in time. If we didn't, this really, it's weird to say, but if we didn't have time, there wouldn't be music. It's how long is it as a thing. So you can read a script and it can say, Willie and Gary have this conversation and they hug, or I mean Willie and Jerry, but until you see how long it takes, you have no idea whether is that 10 seconds? Is it 30 seconds? Is it 3 minutes? Those are huge differences in music. So you can write themes, you can talk a lot, and you can get a general sense of what the score needs to provide in a film. And the period and the production design of it, seeing those things is helpful. But for the exact piece of music that's going to go in the film, most of that work happens in post-production after it's been shot. And it's because of the nature of how music works with picture. But it's always great to talk with a director early on, even in pre-production, about what their ideas are and what sort of music they like and what they're seeing as right for the film. Because then when the time really comes to the crunch comes to work that music, you already have this established relationship and idea of what's going to work. And so anything you can do beforehand to cause you to hit it right the first time is going to pay off.
Wonderful. And lastly, I was wondering, how much does the personalities of the characters in the burial drive the music?
Oh, wow. It, it I would a lot of times I would say 100%. And I guess that's true, except that it's more about it's more about the emotion of the moment that I mean, it is the character because they're having the emotions, but it's a little bit like the production design of when you see Jerry come out and talk to his wife and they sit on their porch and you see their porch and you see the evening. There's a lot about their lives that you understand without it being said.
Mhm.
And so the music kind of works in that way. Jerry apologizes to his wife for putting her through what he's putting her through, and she assures him, "You don't need to apologize to me, Jeremiah." And you see you get a sense of his sincerity and the respect they have for each other. And so the music, in that scene, I was trying to portray the long lasting trust they have for each other, and the disappointment he felt at feeling like he was disappointing his wife. And so while the music may not be um, the kind of music that character would listen to on the radio, let's say, when in the day, the music I think helps people really understand the emotion and the relationship that's going on. And so that's how it works relative to characters.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for speaking to me. A beautiful movie, beautiful sound, beautiful, well composed. So thank
Thank
you.
you so much. I really appreciate that.